local is relative, so I'm taking the locals nationwide to meet entrepreneurs of independently owned businesses. Folks, I am thrilled to welcome you to the Locals Heartland Tour. Folks, welcome back to another episode of The Locals. My name is Ryan Glatzhofer, and I'm spotlighting courageous entrepreneurs, and I am in the really beautiful city of Minneapolis, Minnesota, chatting with a real estate agent and owner of the company, To the Twin Cities. Please join me in welcoming Jesse Lynch. Jesse, Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Jesse, take me back. What inspired To the Twin Cities, and what got you interested in this business?
I started being interested in real estate more broadly, flipping houses in 2014. I worked in restaurants previously, so I had been a server and a bartender. I somehow convinced my mom, who really doesn't have the money to risk, flip a house with me and kind of back me on a house flip. She took out a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, borrowed money against the home that she lived in, that I grew up in, and we put it into a home in the Northrop neighborhood. We did our first flip. It took about 9 months. I lived in the home as I flipped it. It was a successful flip. We made some money, enough to go, that was cool. I did that, and I like real estate. We flipped 2 houses. My mom lost her appetite for risk, right? She no longer was interested in risking any money to do another flip. So
I don't blame her.
Yeah, exactly. So that dried up for me, the possibility to do that. I didn't have the money to do that on my own, even with doing a couple successful flips. From 2014 to 2017, listened to, 1,000 or 5,000 hours or something like that of podcasts about investment and real estate investment. And I was really interested in that side of things. Because I saw it as kind of a way out of the corporate job, that sounded really, really exciting to me, to be able to kind of do my own thing. I was a musician. That was the stuff that I was really passionate about. In that time, I bought an Airstream and I gutted that and flipped it.
I didn't say anything about when I wanted to make the Airstream my home. My goal is April.
I lived in it for a year and a half. So I was always kind of interested in tiny homes and alternative living things.
They are pretty cool.
It was cool. It was also cold in Minnesota. They aren't really designed for living in the winter.
I didn't think of it that way.
They're thin aluminum shells. The affordability of it was really nice, but the flexibility of it actually wasn't. You had to live in kind of strange places.
So I'm getting pretty close to being done with this bed frame. I want to be able to store things under there, and I also want to be able to crawl under there when I need to. So what I'm gonna do is turn this into a hatch. You're gonna be able to open it up.
Then I bought a duplex at the end of 2019 in Rochester. At the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, I was working building sets for Fortune 100 company in Minnesota. The corporate aspect of that was very, very tiresome to me. And it was clear they didn't care. It even felt like my job was kind of disappearing slowly. The set building world, they were using digital set. They were outsourcing to other set building crews.
I know what you're talking about, yeah. Going from kind of stagecraft to digital and VR spaces.
Your time is limited, and I could tell, okay, the New Year's resolution, get a real estate license.
How's that process?
It takes 3 weeks of actual class.
So it's kind of a low barrier to entry?
Probably too low, because so many people enter the real estate world and they just flounder. Probably 90% of agents get licensed and don't renew a year later, because it's so hard to actually be an agent.
Why is that?
Because it's hard to get clients. There's so many real estate agents. I think in the last year, there have been more real estate agents in the country than there were homes listed. The reality is, it's the 80-20 rule. The top 20% do everything, and the bottom 80% do nothing. Do 1-2 transactions in a year and say, well, that wasn't worth it. They don't know how to market. They don't know how to get clients interested in working with them. And they also don't have any unique value proposition. They're just a person with a real estate license. So why work with them when there's somebody who's actually an expert? You can get a sociology degree. Are you a sociologist? Do you have a job? Yeah, you have the license to do the thing. That doesn't mean you're going to get to do the thing.
And then what was the next step for you?
You have to find a brokerage. That's pretty easy. You're just where am I going to hang my license?
And for folks out there that aren't kind of familiar, can you explain in layman's terms what is a brokerage and how does that kind of tie into what you do?
The broker is sort of the most in charge person at a real estate company. And they're called brokerages because there has to be a broker at the top. The broker is overseeing all of the agents and making sure that those agents don't do anything illegal and don't drop the ball and have enough support to take care of their clients.
How did you go about marketing and getting your first client?
I knew that I was going to do video as kind of the number one way of getting clients.
So that's why you created the YouTube channel.
It is, and I wasn't totally sure that YouTube would be the avenue. I thought maybe social media, but like video content. YouTube is the new media. It's the single most app used on smart TVs. It's crazy. More than Netflix, more than Amazon Prime, more than YouTube TV.
People come across your YouTube channel to the Twin Cities. What can they expect?
We really focus on helping people relocate from anywhere in the country or the world to the Twin Cities. They're moving here for quality of life, probably more than anything else. Some people are moving here just because they got a job offer, and if you can get over winter.
If you are moving to Minnesota from any other state that isn't cold, doesn't have a ton of snow, then you are definitely going to want to watch this video.
The fact that it's cold and it's somewhat harsh keeps people away, makes it livable. The friction to do things being so low while also having so many things to do, so much variety, so much culture, different niches, whether it's music or art or cuisine. We have that at a very, very high level here, but it's not a nightmare to do.
If they don't know what they're looking for, how do you help them realize their goals?
The videos, the meat and potatoes of the channel are virtual tours of specific neighborhoods in the city, entire suburbs, and then we have these wider concept videos that are more information that might be helpful before you're even considering a neighborhood. This catalog of virtual tours of North Loop, Minneapolis, Shoreview, Minnesota, suburb or small neighborhood, and we even go even more micro, neighborhood in a suburb.
Morningside, we helped some folks buy here not all that long ago. The nicest people. so nice.
They're very immersive. I'm out there with a GoPro most of the time on a street in a neighborhood, and to be able to turn 360 degrees, I'm out there showing them what it's like.
How do you balance that authenticity between marketing a space to get a sale and also representing it accurately?
And there's a few thoughts that I have on that. There's kind of the photos that exist on the MLS, and then there's the marketing material that we do. So the MLS is the multiple listing service. It's where all of the homes that are listed, unless they're for sale by owner, they don't necessarily go on the MLS, but
okay,
that's why they don't sell. The MLS holds all the homes basically that any agent lists. Companies like Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, they all syndicate that information and kind of put it out there for public viewing. And all of those sites, for the record, are lead generation platforms. So they are there to make money for them, and so there are certain things that they do that are somewhat inconsistent with the MLS. They'll leave homes on the market as being an active listing after the status is changed on the MLS over to contingent. Contingent means it's maybe still an active listing, but it's under contract. And that can be a main point of frustration with buyers, is they send you a Zillow listing and they say, can we look at this? And you say, it's already under contract. Zillow is incentivized to leave a home active, maybe not a week longer, but a little bit longer, because the longer a home appears to be an active listing, the more likely somebody is to click contact agent. And when somebody clicks contact agent, Zillow gets paid. So you click contact agent, you become a lead that they get to sell to somebody. They get to sell to an agent who's paying to be the person who they route you to. And so if a home appears to be under contract, you're probably not going to click contact agent. That is their number one
bread and butter.
That's how they make money. In the same way that Facebook is an ads platform. The user of Facebook is the product.
It's not a genuine way to connect with friends and family?
Well, it could be, but that's not how they make money. Its usefulness to the user is one thing. Its usefulness to itself is something else. So
that's a great way of putting it.
My opinion is that marketing the home in its best possible light is the best thing to do. But is the best possible light disguising things that are inaccurate with it? No. Every single house that we list, we stage for free. I don't charge extra for it because I believe in it so much. Sure, we could just show any home how the sellers live in it, and that might be a very authentic look at how the sellers lived in it, but that's not the best way to market that home. Sometimes blank isn't necessarily the idea. Style, swagger.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Certain places need a little bit of vibe. And some homes really benefit from that kind of neutral palette.
And that would also be a conscious decision based off of who you're trying to represent.
Putting the best foot forward, taking the best photos, spending the money to get the real photographer out, that's all stuff that we do. And to me, that's like bare minimum. Having the conversation, while it's not always fun with the seller, about maybe you should paint, it sucks. Nobody wants to, but it's like, it can go from making your house appear as like a fixer-upper to being move-in ready. Are we at 95% and you can spend a few grand and make it 99%, then maybe that's worth doing. Are we in a situation where a buyer would have objections to the home based on condition? And then you're looking for somebody who's open to a renovation. Having helped close to 500 clients in the past 5 years, mostly buyers, you really understand how people think and you really understand what people are looking for.
What are the advantages of going with a real estate agent versus doing for sale by owner?
It should be attention. For sale by owner, it gets way less views. It's taken way less seriously. Most of the time, they think they know how to price a home. We're talking to a seller. They're saying, well, here's how we arrive at this price. And we as agents go, well, that's not how you arrive at a price. Look at other homes that have sold in your market. You really have to use comps to price. There's so many nuances to why nationally it would behave one way versus yours. And you could be selling yourself short too. So if you just take the national average, the Twin Cities, generally speaking, right now is better than the national average and has seen more growth than so many other parts of the country. We're too cold to blow up like Austin and LA. Good.
The house buying experience can be unbelievably stressful. Say they sell it quickly. How do you help clients navigate sometimes complex timelines?
Timelines are inherently complex. The first-time home buyers typically have the easiest, where they don't have a house to sell, but sometimes they're up against the clock. If they don't find a home or if they don't close on a home by June 1st, they have to renew for a whole nother year.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like opportunity cost, right?
Yeah,
Of,
yes.
okay, we have to wait another year. The easiest is if they have a month-to-month lease. You were looking for a new home, but you had to first sell the home you were living in to get the funds to do it. Probably the majority of people are in that situation, which can be very complicated. There are people, they can buy their next home and then sell this old home. They don't need to sell A to buy B. Typically, you'll kind of wait until you find the new house to then list the old house. Then there's the other situation of you have to sell A to buy B. Coordinating those is a challenge. And sometimes it can be such a complication that it's not even worth putting all your eggs in the basket of trying to line those up.
Really?
Well, because if you find the perfect house, but you're contingent upon the sale of this house, your offer is not going to be as good. There's so many uncertainties to the seller of the new home where they're like, I'm just not sure. This is probably oversimplifying a little bit, but I think sellers care about two things more than anything: the certainty of closing and the dollar amount. And every other term in a purchase agreement is either massaging one of those two things. Purchase price, that's the dollar amount they're walking away with.
Sure.
The certainty would be things like, what type of financing do you have? Are you 50% down, conventional? Are you cash? The reason cash is so valuable in a real estate transaction is because there's no lender who can deny you.
I have heard before that cash is king when it comes to purchasing a new home because you have it right there for the person. There's no uncertainties, right? But if you have amazing credit and you are a trustworthy individual, it almost seems like that's kind of frowned upon.
The idea that everybody's losing out on homes because there's all these cash offers out there, it's kind of a myth. There's not that many cash offers. But most people would use financing, even if they have the
That's
cash.
what I thought.
Yeah, most people will. But if you have two offers and identical terms, everything else, one's cash, one's financed, cash, higher level of certainty. Let's say you have amazing credit, you have really good employment, and you have a 30-day escrow period, which is escrow is under contract to close. It's like that little window of time. Great credit, generally very good employment history, you could still lose your job, right? So there's still 30 days of uncertainty. All of these other terms, there's earnest money, there's inspection timeline. In Minnesota, you can legally completely waive your right to an inspection. We don't recommend it, for the record. You also, I believe you don't have to waive an inspection to get a house. You just might have to waive inspection to get one particular house, because you might be competing against other people who are waiving inspection. The certainty and the dollar amount levers that you can pull, there's things like inspection. In Minnesota, you can waive your inspection fully. Some states, they don't allow you to do that. The reason that waiving inspection is so enticing to a seller, it's not necessarily because they know something's going to come up or they're hiding something that they're afraid you're going to inspect. They're afraid of what they don't know most of the time. They're like, well, I hope nothing comes up that we don't know about.
Dead bodies under the floorboards?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. And, or maybe worse, foundation problem, right? Yeah, that might be worse. That'd be harder to overcome for some people. So in Minnesota, inspection contingency, you can bail for any reason at all. You can get cold feet, you can get the heebie-jeebies. Some states, you have to give the seller the right to cure and all this stuff. I'm actually really glad Minnesota isn't that way, because it's very complicated and somewhat convoluted. Because when is a problem truly cured? Hard to say.
Fair point.
Bodies in the floorboard, can you give them the right to cure? Or does that just mean removing the bodies, or right? Or is there a greater...
Yeah, removing the bodies and having a priest?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, how do you know when something is cured? So, and same with the foundation, right? You could fix a foundation, but you knew that there was this major problem. Yes. Are you ever confident that that is truly fixed? The biggest concern to a seller with inspection is not that you're going to ask for some things, it's that you're going to bail completely. It's so complicated, and there's only so many levers to pull. So how do you pull them right?
What have been some mistakes that you have made, and how has that kind of helped you pivot and learn and understand your path moving forward?
I'm very comfortable making mistakes in public. Obviously, if I'm filming with a GoPro, walking around the street, I've gotten yelled at about 1,000 times, from
Seriously?
passerbys. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Just because they don't want to be filmed? Or like,
No, like, hey guy, like they're trying to be funny. It was annoying at first, and I've tried really hard to just go. Actually, it's kind of funny. I played in a band since I was 16, something like that. It's just public failure, because you're not good enough yet. But you have to play in front of people to know if anybody cares about it. And you have to put out EPs and records and photos and all this marketing. It just lands on deaf ears until you get good. I'm gonna keep making the stuff that I wanna do, because there's other people like me who will also like the same thing. I just can't pull it off yet. As much as musicians and artists and things have egos, their egos are pretty used to being taken down a peg. It can be somewhat horrifying to put out a record that you spent a year or two working on and then wait to see what the response is.
How and why did you transition from being an artist to real estate?
I was so sick of corporate world. I transitioned from being a bartender and then a set builder into being a real estate agent. The artist part of me is the foundation of how I think about things and how I approach things, how I want to spend my days. Is being creative, building a brand, building a business. The creativity side of the thing is the stuff that I love the most. I want to make videos. I have to make videos if I want to get more clients, but I don't have time. So I hired an editor when I had no money, by the way. That took a huge amount of weight off my shoulders. Then added an agent to my team to help me do some showings. Because you can run yourself ragged in real estate. It can be unbelievable. In my first full year of real estate, I did 63 transactions. That's more than one a week. I had to just kind of slowly figure out, well, how do I keep doing the thing, which is making videos?
Yeah.
That's the number one thing that I want to be doing, and it's the number one thing that helps my business. Then all the pressure for me comes down to, now I need to keep providing future clients with helpful information so that they work with us. The beauty is that the North Star of all of the content, of everything we do, is being helpful.
In this journey as a business owner, what has been your proudest moment and why?
That's a good question. The team that I've amassed. When I get to hear that people moved here because of the videos that I make, that's huge. That's very, very satisfying. When they say, you helped me decide to move to Minnesota, I get bumped into randomly, and people go, do you have a YouTube channel? Are you the guy who makes stuff about Minnesota? And I'm like, yeah, that's crazy.
And on this show, it's not all about dollars and cents in business. I really try to tap into the heart of the folks like yourself behind these businesses and how they navigate it. I encourage all guests to be vulnerable if they so choose. Would you mind sharing me what has been one, if not some of the hardest moments that you've had to face, whether personally or mental health wise, and who has been your support system helping you navigate through that?
One is burnout. I really have a high threshold for noisy brain, where too many things are going on.
Yep, chaotic brain.
Yeah, I can deal with that really well. I also have ADHD or, I have something like that.
Join the club.
Yeah. I couldn't get anything done.
Yeah, I've been there.
Right, where you're like, I have too many things to do, I don't have enough time, how do I get this done?
Yeah.
Bringing on very helpful people has been the number one thing. There's been a couple times that really come to mind. When I was a solo agent, did 63 transactions in a year, would come home and just be so fried and know that I still had so much to do that night. The support system that helped me was I added the first 2 agents to my team. My cat, right, was the support system in that moment. Just content could be full-time. I was still helping clients, I was still doing showings, obviously helping people navigate the actual process, but if they don't know we exist, we can't be helpful. And then, I have a fiance who's amazing. Among the most helpful things that she does is let me be crazy. Is let me be a bit of a workaholic.
It's so refreshing, a peace of mind, like, oh, thank you God for accepting me and my chaotic mind.
I like to be busy. I'm a workhorse. Yeah. If I go on vacation, it's a road trip, right? Because I want a task. Put me on a beach with nothing to do, miserable. I don't enjoy that. The way that I unwind is through being creative and finding flow state.
What advice would you have for any potential entrepreneurs?
I don't always know if my advice is the healthiest advice to give to people, and I want to make sure that I'm putting that out there because I think there's a lot of people who think very strongly or heavily about work-life balance. My true opinion is that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be obsessed. You have to think about it more than just about anything else. The reality is, if you don't have a purpose for the brand, it's worthless. It needs to be in the front of your mind all the time so that you have aha moments. The superpower that can ignite this, for one, it's content, it's video specifically. Assuming you're going to be an entrepreneur who is using content to get clients, you gotta be comfortable failing in public. And you have to not care if you put something out and it gets 10 views.
I mean, the amount of times I've been humiliated, it's just just improve and try not to let it get to you.
And maybe you need a defense mechanism, right? Maybe when somebody, if you...
Alcohol?
No, not alcohol. Those inner conversations you have with yourself. Being humiliated, that's an internal thing. The idea that you're embarrassed, that's you. We get negative comments on the YouTube channel. You didn't talk about this. And sometimes it's really abstract things where why would I talk about that? And sometimes it's that's a decent point, but you can't give them too much weight. I have this kind of inner monologue. Somebody would say, your intro's too long, right? Oh, I've watched for 2 minutes, you haven't said anything. First of all, maybe take that and learn from it. But the other thing I say is make your own channel. Nothing's stopping this person from making the video that they think I should make. Go ahead and make it. I've had people call me. I should talk about the history of a suburb. Oh, you didn't mention this part of the history. And I'm yeah, we're not a history show. You have to flex the muscle of being comfortable putting things out into the void and not caring what comes back. And some of that is not being a perfectionist, but a lot of it is just press publish, move on.
For folks that are interested in learning more about the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, and maybe they're entering into a new chapter of their lives and relocating, and they're looking for someone to help, how can people reach out to you and your services?
We have a website called tothetwincities.com. That's the easiest way to actually get in touch with us. But I would say start with the YouTube channel. Go down the rabbit hole, see all of the value that we can provide you for free.
Jesse, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Driving into Minnesota, it's a beautiful city, and learning more about your channel and your business and how you've navigated this, and also the real estate market. Incredibly fascinating. Thank you for breaking it down for me and my audience, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
And folks, that does it for another episode of The Locals. Interested in more entrepreneurial stories like this? You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment if you're interested. Hope to see you next time.